What's up, everyone? Today I've got a really interesting Gothic mystery for you. The Green Mummy. This is one of those classic mysteries that has a very unsettling feel right from the start, and the more you get into it, the more tense it becomes. The atmosphere gets darker, the mystery gets deeper, and you start to feel like something is just not right. The story takes us to a village called Gartley. A quiet, remote English village. The kind of place that looks peaceful from the outside. But like many quiet places in classic mystery fiction, its silence does not mean safety. Sometimes silence only means the storm has not broken yet. In this village, we meet Archie Hope and Lucy Kendall. Archie is a young artist. He is not rich, he is not powerful, he does not carry social weight. But he does have something more important. A good heart, and a genuine love for Lucy. And Lucy is not weak, not passive, and not the kind of heroine who simply follows whatever others decide for her. She is intelligent, strong-minded, and emotionally steady. She truly loves Archie, and she wants to marry him. Up to this point, the story seems simple. Two people love each other, and they want to build a life together. But in stories like this, love is rarely the real problem. The real problem is usually the people controlling it. And the man standing between Archie and Lucy is Professor Braddock, Lucy's stepfather. And from the start, we need to pay attention to this man. Because Braddock is not a villain in the obvious way. He does not shout, he does not swagger, he does not enter the room looking dangerous. On the contrary, he seems like the harmless kind of scholar who is so lost in old books and dead civilizations that he barely notices the living world around him. But sometimes pyramids. And the name alone tells you everything. This is not a man living emotionally among ordinary people. He is living in another world. His house is full of antiquities, mummies, ancient boxes, carved figures, symbols, scrolls. It does not feel like a home. It feels like a museum of the dead. And Lucy, unlike him, is the one keeping the living side of that house alive. She manages the practical life of the home. She keeps things in order. She makes ordinary life possible. But Braddock? Braddock is consumed by one great obsession: archaeology. But this is not the pure obsession of a man who loves knowledge for its own sake. There is ambition in it, personal ambition, a hunger for recognition, and maybe a hunger for wealth as well. Because Braddock has another dream. He wants to mount an expedition in search of the tomb of Queen Tahoser. A tomb he believes contains historical wonders, rare treasures, and documents of enormous value. But to pursue that dream, he needs money. And here we need to pause. Because from this point on, we begin to understand that Braddock is not some pure-minded scholar. Yes, he is learned. Yes, he is intelligent. But his science is no longer innocent. It has become a private ambition. And that means anyone standing between him and his dream might stop being a person. And once we understand Braddock's ambition, the next conflict becomes unavoidable. Lucy wants to marry Archie. But Braddock does not agree easily. Why? Because Archie does not have much money, and because Braddock has someone else in mind. Sir Frank Random. A wealthy man, a man of status, a military officer. The sort of husband a calculating guardian would call suitable. But Archie, because he truly loves Lucy, decides to make a major sacrifice. He gives Braddock £1,000 so that the professor can purchase something he desperately wants. The Green Mummy, which is in Malta. And here, we need to stop again, because this moment matters. Braddock gives his approval to the engagement, but in exchange for what? For the fulfillment of his own desire. And that gives Lucy, and the reader, a bitter feeling. A feeling that she has almost been sold. Maybe not literally, maybe not openly, but in practice, Braddock's approval of her future has been tied to the funding of his obsession. And that moment tells us something important. This man is willing to bargain with the happiness of a living young woman in order to acquire a dead body wrapped in cloth. And from that point on, the story reveals what it is really about. This is not just a love story. It is a conflict between the value of a person and the value of a thing. And once that truth becomes clear, the story begins to widen. Because Braddock is not the only danger here. Around him are several other important people. And in a mystery like this, the people standing quietly at the edges of the scene are often the ones we should watch most carefully. There is Mrs. Jasher, a stylish widow, socially clever, polished, and clearly the kind of woman who knows how to use charm, tone, and timing to stay close to power. She circles around Braddock, perhaps because she sees him as a marriage possibility, perhaps because she sees access, influence, or advantage, or perhaps simply because she is the kind of person who always knows where opportunity is hiding. Then there is Sidney Bolton, Braddock's assistant, the man sent to Malta to bring back the mummy. At first he seems secondary, almost harmless, but as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that he too is not nearly as innocent as he appears. And then there is one of the strangest and most unsettling figures in the entire novel. Cockatoo. This is not just a servant. He is physically strange, disturbing in appearance, and utterly loyal to Braddock. The kind of figure who changes the mood of a scene simply by walking into it. He carries with him that feeling that something dark has just entered the room. And that feeling turns out to be correct. Everything seems to be moving toward one event. The mummy will arrive, the professor will be delighted, the engagement will continue, and life will settle again. But some boxes, when they are opened, do not reveal artifacts. They reveal disaster. And then, at last, the long-awaited shipment arrives. The case carrying the green mummy has finally returned. The atmosphere is tense. Everyone is waiting. But Braddock most of all. He is almost burning from the inside with anticipation. The case is opened, and then the shock comes. The mummy is gone. Inside the box is the dead body of Sidney Bolton. Dead. Murdered. Placed inside the space that should have held the ancient mummy. And the mummy itself? Gone. This is the moment when the novel truly changes shape. From this point onward, it is no longer simply a story of mystery and romance. It becomes a murder case. And immediately, 3 questions rise to the surface. Who killed Sidney? Who stole the mummy? And perhaps most importantly, why was that mummy worth killing for? In a moment like this, a normal man would be devastated by the death of his assistant. He would be horrified, angry, distraught. His first thought would be the murder. But Braddock's reaction is different. He seems more disturbed by the disappearance of the mummy than by Sidney's death. And that is when the first serious suspicion begins to take root. Is he really just an absent-minded scholar? Or is there something colder in him? Something more dangerous than his dreamy exterior suggests? That suspicion does not arrive all at once. It builds gradually, through the way he speaks, the things he focuses on, the strange emotional priorities he reveals. And little by little, the reader begins to feel that Braddock's calmness is not harmless. It is chilling. And once suspicion has taken root, it cannot remain in one place for long. After the discovery of the body, the investigation begins. People search the ship, the harbor, the route Sidney traveled, his last known movements, the people who saw him alive, the strange details surrounding his return. And one rumor stands out. Someone says Sidney had been seen speaking to a woman shortly before his death. And that adds another layer of mystery. Who was she? Was she real? Was she involved? Was Sidney trying to escape with her? Or was someone else wearing a face that was not their own? At this stage, many names enter the field of suspicion. Captain Hervey, Sir Frank Random, Mrs. Jasher, people from the harbor, people with hidden motives, people whose roles seem unclear. But the truth, like in many strong mysteries, is not far away at all. It is, in fact, very close. Close enough that people do not want to believe it. And that's where we're going to leave it for today. By this point, the mystery is only getting darker. The tension is rising. And it's becoming clear that there's much more hiding beneath the surface than anyone first realized. So if you want to see how all of this unfolds, how the secrets come out, and where the green mummy leads next, make sure to come back for the next part. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it. It really helps the channel. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.